Hey everyone, Voices of Chaos here, and Paizo just released a new book, Impossible Magic. This is a bit of the remastered version of Secrets of Magic, along with a lot of new stuff mixed in, such as the Necromancer and the Runesmith. I wanted to make content about this book because this is the first book I've gotten since I've signed up for the Paizo subscription. So this is one of my first ever hardcover Pathfinder books, and it's really cool. So I wanted to make a video about it and try to get more people to buy it. Paizo's going through a lot of financial hardship, and the more people that buy this book, the more it'd be good for Paizo. But what kind of content should I make for this? Everybody has already reviewed the Necromancer and the Runesmith to death. We've talked about the remaster changes to the Summoner and the Magus. We've even had videos to go into over the new spells. And this book has tons of new spells, magic items, a few new archetypes. So all that cool gaming content has already been reviewed by far more successful YouTubers than myself. So, what can I talk about this book that no one else has really focused or talked about that will get you wanting to buy this book and get Paizo liking me more? Well, that's real simple. You can just look at it and realize this book has amazing artwork. So, we are going to flip through this book, and I'm going to point out some of my favorite art from this book. Um, and you might be asking yourself, what kind of qualifications do I have? Am I some kind of art major? How many years have I been selling my art online and in person and all that stuff? What are my artist critique qualifications? And I have none of them. That's right. I don't know any fancy art terms. And in terms of being an artist myself, I could barely count as one. But that's why this is going to be a casual artist review. Um, my connection to art is that I started playing Dungeons and Dragons third edition right when it came out in the year 2000 when I was less than 10 years old, and flipping through the player's handbook and then especially the monster manual, I was captivated by the art in those books. So ever since the beginning of my tabletop role-playing game career, the art in the books have always captured my imagination, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. So I figured let's talk about it today. Especially with Archives of Nefis, they're going to be hosting less of the art, at least for the foreseeable future. So I figured let's go through, look at some of the best art in this book, and get you to want to own this hardcover book to have on your library shelf, just so you, when your friends come by, you can take it down and flip through all the beautiful art that's in this book. Couple couple qualifiers. We're going to do different categories of top lists because clearly a small little picture cannot compare to the cover art. Those are different categories. It'd be unfair to judge them against one another. So we're going to do a couple of different categories. And then the other qualification is I'm going to exclude the art of the iconics, the ones you see on the website and heavily advertised everywhere. The stock image of each iconic is going to be excluded as that's on the website and everywhere else. I want the art that you more so only see in this book and focus on that and give that some love and credit. So let's flip through the casual artist review of Impossible Magic. Before we get started, though, of course, we need to look at the artist credits. A lot of very talented artists worked on this book. We're going to be looking at many of their works. So on screen, a whole bunch of different uh, artists that have worked on stuff. Wayne Reynolds was the cover artist and is honestly the only name that I recognize. He's done a whole bunch of stuff that I've seen before, but the inside of the book, as we're going to go over, has a bunch of amazing artists as well. So here are their names. Let's get into looking at some of this amazing work. All right, our first honorable mention is going to have to go to the cover. It would be unfair to put the cover in any of the other categories because, I mean, it's clearly designed to be the most appealing art we see in the book, and it does a fabulous job. Uh, a lot of the other Splat books, they all have two iconics in the thing, but this Impossible Magic has four iconics, and we get to see all of them here with the Magus, the Summoner, the Necromancer, and the Runesmith. And I mean, if you're gonna have four iconics, like they got to be doing something cool, and they're fighting this four, no, looks like five-headed elemental beast. Just made. Oh no, it's six-headed. Oh my God, there's so much going on with this monster. Made of magic that looks beyond the realms of possibility. You could even say it's made of impossible magic. And it's really cool because you get to see the Necromancer's thralls there fighting. The Summoner is, of course, on her dragon. The Runesmith, I don't really know what the Runesmith is doing, but there's some runes on their staff, spear. And then, of course, the Magus is doing like a superhero dive bomb with lightning sword spell striking. It looks amazing. This brings us to our other honorable mention. This is on page 231. Typically, I'm a big fan of item artwork, but despite this book having a lot of new magical items, there's not like much art of like really cool weapons or intricate armor. It's a lot more kind of basic stuff that just so happens to be magical. So I didn't think it was fair to make a category for magical item art. So instead, we're just going to point out the best one of them all, which is, in my opinion, these spell books and grimoires and tombs that we have here. I think typically we all know that like a wizard spell book is like a giant book and has all magical spells inside, but I think when we picture that we have a kind of pretty generic image of what that looks like, a pretty just blank generic book. And I always love in fantasy when you have really cool looking spell books. I mean, I think here just the Codex of Unimpeded Sight with this face that's in the book and its eyes are covered up, like that's so freaking metal. It's really cool. The sparkling grimoire has, lightning kind of going through it and stuff, and it looks like there's even like some flesh skin sewed on. The radiant tome has a giant gemstone that is radiating light. So it's just all very cool stuff. I love magical spellbook design. That brings us to our first top six list. This is going to be small character art. So this is kind of some of the smallest art we have where it's standalone characters. You'll see in some of these that, some of the text is wrapped around them a little bit. And, they get their own category because they couldn't really compete with stuff that has full detailed backgrounds. The first one here at number six is the Runesmith archetype, not the runesmith itself. Quite a couple of these will be either archetypes or they will be the subclass examples from the classes. Remember, I'm not going to use any of the iconic artwork for this video. We're going to look at some of the art that people have not seen yet. So here we have the runesmith, and I just think it looks pretty cool. Nothing stands out too much about this art of just this dude being a knight, but like the shield being giant and having the angel ring wings, and then just having the banner wrapped around it with the runes, I think just looks really cool. I think it's a really cool way to be a subtle runesmith where it's like the runes are not the main part of this character, but it is their secondary class. It's their dedication opposed to their primary class that looks more like champion like here. So yeah, I just thought this art could have went unnoticed and be underrated and it deserved some extra love. So we are going to stick with the runesmith for more art. Funny, it's probably my least favorite class of the four new classes, and yet the art for it is just amazing. So this is one of the sample runesmiths. Yeah, it's just this. I thought he looked kind of like a dwarf at first. Maybe he's just a human, but I don't know, human with a little bit of dwarf-like vibes to him. just wielding a giant hammer that has runes like on it. The hammer has a chain with what looks like an oversized kunai in the other hand. I don't know. And you see some of the toolmaker kits on his belt there too, which I think is really cool. And I don't know, I think this was just a cool, kind of different example of, big muscular macho dude, but like having that artsy crafty side of making his weapons look extra cool with runes. Um, so I want to include that. Moving on to page 82, this is a sample summoner, the Angelic Vessel, as our fourth place slot here. And I just like angels in fantasy. I like angels that, look cool, can be called upon to fight for you. So I just wanted to include this art just because I think being able to summon an angel has some cool visuals to it. I think the person doing the summoning, they have some cleric vibes to them, but they're not completely cleric. They're more about being a vessel for that like angel-like entity and just having a eidolon that's angelic and divine just has some cool vibes. So I thought this artwork captured that very well. All right, moving on to page 110. This is the only one in this category that is neither a sample subclass of a class or a archetype. This is actually the automaton, first, I believe, released in Guns and Gears, but they get a whole bunch of extra stuff in this book if you wanted to play a column like Ancestry. And I just thought it looked cool. I thought that, there's a cool force shield this thing has. It's, mechanical. It looks kind of just shirty. I feel like this art really has some weight to it. Like, I feel like it's not just a flat image on the screen, that you look at this and it's like, I would not want to be walking down a dungeon hallway and come across this dude. I feel like he would fuck me up and, would crush me and just be powerful. He just looks sturdy and bulky. It looks like he could be like a linebacker for a football fucking team. And yeah, he just looks really cool and solid, and I wanted to give this art a special shout out. All right, turning back to page 38, we have for our second place spot for this category, we have the Sample Necromancer Blood Puppeteer. And there's again, I think this is an artwork that you could easily overlook. It's not a big deal and just flip the page. But I think when you just kind of stop and stare, there are some cool details to this art. And seeing how blood was the subclass that was not in the playtest, blood is the subclass that we know the least about. So it's kind of cool to get an image here of what a blood necromancer looks like. And, you can it doesn't quite have the puppeteer vibes, but you can tell that like this guy would make a whole bunch of blood tendrils like this. And yeah, if you're into vampire lore, if you're into blood, like gothicness, it just looks cool. I love the way the blood is dripping from his spell book. Like that is such a neat touch. I think that's just such a cool way to do that. Like to just see a book, paper, pages, bleeding liquid. It's such a contradictory image because typically you don't want paper to get wet. So for it to be leaking blood and the blood hits the ground, then moves across and becomes a tentacle that attacks you, like it just has such cool, creepy, fearsome vibes to it. Uh, so for that, the sample necromancer, blood puppeteer, takes the number two spot for this category of art. But that means that our winner will be on page 92. When I was going through the book and I came to this, my jaw dropped. I had to stop flipping pages and just honestly kind of drool. This is the Captivator archetype, and man, did they knock the art out of the park. You can tell she has at least a 5 charisma, if not higher.
And just like, I mean, look at the fashion, look at the cape, look at the dress. You got like some cool leggings on there too, and they got the little like frilly thing on top of the leggings, and then you got the shoes. I just noticed that there's a tail on this demonic Nephilim thing. Oh my God, it just, we got like the cleavage window too, and then you got like a second cape, it almost looks like up top. We got the red cape and then the black cape. The more I look at that, I'm actually very confused about what the second cape is, but who cares? Oh, then you got the frilly neck thing too. Like, oh my God, just the fashion and the art is just so beautiful. And then she's carrying black roses too. I am just staring at this art more and more and just being amazed by the layers and depth of this art, and it is captivating. The art for the Captivator has captivated me. Um, this creature could give me any command, and I will roll a nat one on my will save and do whatever they command me to do because they are just so beautiful. So they will take the number one spot for the small character artwork of this art. All right, that will bring us to the category of rectangular art. This will be stuff that's not full page art, but takes up about half the page, maybe a little bit less. There's quite a couple of these throughout the book. They all look good. They all depict a scene. This should be a top three list, but I had to put in this fourth rank spot as a kind of honorable mention. And plus, the more I looked at it, two and three are kind of similar. So I would just feel bad if I did not include this artwork, so it sneaks onto the list, just because the Sphinx looks so cool here. I think Sphinxes can be very hit or miss in like fantasy like artwork. Like I feel a lot of times they look kind of not cool and kind of blah, but when you get them right, they look amazing and it looks great here. And then we go to the runesmith, and the runes coming off of their halberd with like the little sparkle of light there, and then the runes kind of wrapping around the Sphinx. Oh, it just looks so cool. Like the more I look at this, maybe this should have been number three. Like who knows? This just looks so good. And I think just the sun in the background, in the foreground, is just like really well placed. And then you have the kind of deserty mountain terrain in the back there, and it just this is good art. All right, for number three, we go all the way to the back of the book on page 249. Um, and yeah, this we have. There's not a whole lot of art that shows all four of the iconics, so it's cool that they're all flying behind this dude. Without reading any of the lore of the book yet, I'm just gonna assume that this dude is probably next, since the whole book is about searching for next. I'm sure there'll be 100 comments to tell me how it's not next and it's someone else, but whatever. Whoever the wizard is looks cool. And at first I thought he was doing like a mass fly spell on them, on the Iconics, to help them fly and be his allies, but he also might just be like mind controlling them too as part of the magic. So I'm not really sure if they're allies or he's dominating their wills, but we have a whole castle in the background that's floating, but it's also falling apart and breaking, but it's held together. They're above this I was gonna say Arabian, but I don't know if that's right, but like Middle Eastern inspired city, and then you have the horizon meeting the night. There's stars in the back. Like, yeah, no, maybe I take it back. Maybe this does deserve the third place spot because this art is cool. I think maybe my only gripe is I wish the iconics were a little bit closer to the camera so they were less small and you could see more details, but they're not really the focus here. Everything else going on is, and this one takes the number three spot. All right, turning to page 189, I do feel bad because I feel like this image has some similar vibes to the last one, but with less going on. But we get the iconic psychic in this one, so we get one of the iconics that's not part of the impossible like magic ones. So I think that's really cool. I almost wonder maybe this was in the original book, or maybe this is a leftover art from the dark archives that they never used, so they recycled for this book. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, but I think it's cool that we get the iconic psychic here. They're lifting up this haven out of the ground and making this their fortress. And again, just I feel some people could maybe say that maybe this one should be lower on the list than the last two like pictures. That's totally fair, but I love the colors in this one. I think the color schemes, just with like the yellows and everything, just looks so cool. And just looking at this one, even more so than the last two ones, I do feel like I am right there. Like I am right behind this dude's back, watching him cast this magic in just this tapestry of art. And I don't know, this art just sucks me in. I really like this one a lot, and I just think it looks gorgeous. All right, but that takes us to page 150 for the winner of the rectangular art, and that is Incarnate Skeletal Giant. If you don't know, the Incarnate spells are a series of summoning spells where instead of summoning something for a whole minute, you summon them for a round. They arrive, they do their powerful effect, and then they leave the next round doing another powerful effect. And this one depicts some of the, it shows the iconic necromancer summoning a giant skeleton to fight off against this other manticore looking fungus kaiju thing, and all these people running for cover, and just like you really feel the power of, big monster shows up to attack your party and you summon your own big giant monster and just being in complete control. It just makes the necromancer look awesome. It's like these monsters look so freaking cool. And like, how can you not see this art and want to take this spell and cast this spell and just summon a giant skeleton to fight for you? It looks awesome. It wins this category. All right, that takes us to the last top three category we have, which is the full page art. This is basically at the beginning of every chapter in the book, takes up the entire page. Gorgeous splash pages. They all look good. There's not a single one of these that looks bad. But I'm just gonna narrow it down to a top three, and ah, we're gonna start with this one. And I mostly picked this one for the bottom half of the image. The iconic runesmith is building stuff, making items. You got these blue candles with blue flames that look amazing. You got some spell books and stuff. You have sparks coming off this feather. You have these crystals here. It looks cool. And then even in the background, there's a portal. There's a whole bunch of books. You got a whole library going on. It all looks amazing. I'm gonna be completely honest. I have no idea what the iconic summoner is doing in the background, casting firework days sparkle on this random dude here. Is this dude on the right some kind of important character in the Pathfinder lore that I don't know about? That I have no idea what's going on there. Like, I kind of wish that was removed from the art. Yet this still gets the number three spot, just because I think the focus on the items here, which this is the start of the item chapter clearly, is just really cool. And I think this is just one of the best looking images of the iconic runesmith from the entire book. So this takes the number three spot. Well, then we turn from page 200 to 246 for one of the last arts in the book again. And we have this scene, which again, it has that dude in the background. Who is this guy, and why is he important? Why is he running towards that portal? But whatever, we're not focused on that. We have three of our four iconics. I'm not sure where the summoner is. Maybe they're through that portal, and it just seems really cool. For whatever reason, the Magus and the Runesmith are fighting. I'm not sure if one of them is mind controlled. I keep mentioning mind control like in this heart, but it's impossible magic, so that could be likely. And just seeing the Magus and the Runesmith fight here looks so freaking cool. And then you have the iconic Necromancer in the background, and this is just one of the better arts of them, and they look so freaking cool, all lizardy and scaly, and you can see their bones. And speaking of bones, there's a whole bunch of bones behind the iconic runesmith, so maybe the necromancer is about to summon those up to stop this guy from running away. But yeah, this just looks awesome. I'm not sure how many artworks we have of the Pathfinder iconics fighting one another, so this just seems really unique and cool in that way. And finally, the best full page art in the book. We go from the end of the book to the start of the book, page 6. And instantly, when I opened up my copy of Impossible Magic, I saw this, and this is what inspired me to make this whole video about the art. Because, oh my goodness, like, the iconic Magus is so hot here. Look at him. He looks so freaking cool. It's ridiculous. This dude is oozing sexiness. It's just not fair. And we get the iconic like necromancer here too, who's like on his knees about to like get his head chopped off by the iconic Magus. So like I feel like the iconic necromancer looks cool here, especially you see like the green tube on his back, but like it is not a good look for him. It looks like he just got his ass handed to him by the Magus. So maybe you want to play the necromancer, then you see this art and you're like, no, fuck that. I want to be a Magus. They're cool. You got this whole desert setting in the background. You got like the tower sinking in the sand, and it just besides the hot sexiness, you can feel the heat from the sand, the sunlight in the back. Like this is just a hot picture in all regards with extra sexy sauce poured on, and it's just beautiful. Go buy this book right now, just so that you can turn to page 6 and just drool all over this art because it looks so good.
So that is the list. Let me know which of these arts was your favorite. Let me know which one I liked that you hated. Let me know which arts in the book I missed that were totally your favorite and should have been included in this video. And please go out and buy Impossible Magic. Help support Paizo and the awesome game that Pathfinder and Starfinder is. And hopefully, if you like this kind of content, I am happy to do more casual art reviews for more products because I have a lot of fun doing it. And I have no idea if anyone else enjoys it. So I would love to hear your comments and feedback. All right, have a great day.